This is episode 2 of Shadowrun Hong Kong. You scramble up a ladder and through an access way where the sewer system spits. Okay. Where the sewer system spits you out into the Hong Kong mass transit railway system. What the fuck? The MTR. Crossing the rails. You climb up to the platform and into the station. Above you is Hioi. Where Ratchaman and Little Decker plan to plead your case to kindly Cheng. The only woman they know who can help you get underground and off the grid fast. But there'll be a price. Cheng is a triad boss whose favors tend to come with strings attached. The sounds of a waterfront at night leak down from the stairway to the surface. Peering up the steps, you can catch a glimpse of the night sky, overcast and low. The sewers deposit you into a series of mechanical access ways that eventually link to a system of railway tunnels. Goblet leads you through 5 or 6 magnetically sealed doors and across several sets of electrified tracks until she indicates you've reached your destination. She holds up her hand, indicates the surrounding platform. This is the MTR station for Hioi. Once you go up those stairs, you'll be in our neighborhood. Kindly Sheng runs her operation out of a mahjong parlor there called Swift Winds. Wu rips off his goggles. There's an APB out on us. How do you expect us to get to the Swift Winds without taking a bullet? Hioi is well known as a protected area. Kindly Sheng sees to that. It's a shadow community. Smugglers, hijackers, black marketers. You get the idea. Cops tend to give the place a wide berth. Isabel gives a shallow nod. Her gaze remains planted on the floor. Police cameras don't last long here. Between the smog and the cloud cover, we shouldn't have to worry about drone surveillance either. The HKPF won't find you, not if you follow our lead. Goblet widens her stance, puts her hands on her hip. Now, here's how this is going to work. You can't get an audience with Cheng until we secure you an invitation. So me and Is will go on ahead and pay her respects. Then we'll request that she sees you, politely. An invitation, how do we get that? The rat shaman smirks. We'll kiss her ass until it shines. Isabel sighs. That's about the size of it. Goblet holds up a hand. One more thing. Kindly Sheng is a dangerous woman. She may seem friendly, but don't let your guard drop. And whatever you do, do not disrespect her. I've dealt with dangerous people all my life. I know how to behave myself. You better. If you don't, it's all over asses. She lets her hand fall, nods to the three of you. Okay, we'll go on ahead and smooth the way. Just give us a few minutes head start. What if a local recognizes us from the news broadcast, calls the cops? Goblet smirks and shakes her head. No one in Hioi calls the cops. Doing that around here is a quick way to get dead. I get it. Her eyes narrow and she nods approvingly. That's good. You catch on real quick. We need your sins burned as badly as you do. And we need to figure out a way out of this shit, or we're all dead. She quickly turns away. See you at the mahjong parlor. The Shadowrunner's footsteps quickly fall away, and then you're alone with Wu. He grunts something unintelligible and begins panther stalking back and forth. Again, boot prints of sewer water and muck marking his path on the subway platform behind him. Minutes passed. Wu stops his pacing and runs both hands over his face, groaning a sound of anxiety and disgust. It dissipates and he stands there silent, his hands covering his face and his shoulders shaking with emotion. Then he begins to laugh. It's a laugh that comes from deep down, from the place where fear and frustration and impotence swirl. But the barrier holds. Wu focuses, taking control of his breathing, and his laughter begins to slow. He becomes himself again. Oh my god, Arnold. An aftershock of laughter shudders through him. Are you fucking kidding me? What the hell are we going to do? How did we get into this? He drops his hands and turns to you, shaking his head in disbelief. I think I'm gonna lose it. Bullshit, you're a rock. He exhales hard and nods his head over and over. I'm trying to maintain, seriously, I am, but... Carter is dead, Arnold. They fucking ended her. He puts a hand to his forehead. I don't know what I'm going to do. What are you talking about? You crawled out of worse places before you met her. He allows his head to loll to the side, whispers, maybe, but that was a long time ago. He sighs, and I read Raymond then. I get it. That triggers him. The hell you do. You only saw the beginning. The old man taking us in, handing me my ass until I straightened out. You only saw me straighten out. I only started to fly right after you left. Raymond's the one who helped me get into the academy, sat on me until I did my homework, checked on every assignment, every single assignment. His breathing becomes ragged, he mumbles, and he didn't care that I was a goddamn orc. Both hands on his face now, he's completely covered. Raymond, the house, the academy, Carter. I'm throwing it all down the memory hole and burying it deep. His hands drop in defeat. You know why? Because we're gonna burn our sins, Arnold. Jesus Christ, do you get what that means? The moment we do that, we're dead. To all the world, we're dead. We're wiped clean. He counts it off on his fingers. Raymond, the house we grew up in, my career, Carter, all gone. No home, no money, no identity, nothing. He waves his hands, brushing it all away. We will be nobody. We were street kids, Duncan. We're used to being nobody. Just chill. Chill? Who the fuck are you to tell me to chill after what just happened? And you are losing what I'm... And you aren't losing what I'm about to lose either. Our paths went in different directions a long time ago. Wu's neck cranes forward, his lower jaw thrust out ahead of him. You left me behind, goddammit. You left me behind. Memories flash bright. Suddenly, you're back 8 years ago, on the street outside of Raymond's house. Just you and Wu, at the middle of the night. You can't just leave like this, Arnold. What am I gonna say to Raymond? You know how he is. Yeah, I know how he is. Inflexible. Exactly. We're breaking one of his rules, just being outside of the house after curfew. What is so important that you have to run out now, in the middle of the night, without them even telling Raymond why? He's distraught. You can see it on his face, hear it in his voice. He used to be lost without you. It's a job. Too good to pass up. Come on, Duncan. We could use you. You're good in a fight. His eyes widens. A job that's too good to pass up. I thought we left that shit behind, Arnold. Look, whatever's going on, I can tell you one thing. Raymond will not approve. Raymond doesn't approve of anything but the life of a wage slave. See you in a couple of days. You'll remember the look on Duncan's face as you walked away. The events that followed were a blur, one that you don't care to remember. 3 days later, you were behind bars in a private corporate prison. No interrogation, no charges, no appeal. Years later, some corporation bought some other corporation, and the new board of directors pushed through some sort of reform agenda, and the higher-ups gave an order. And then you were out, with a few hundred yen to your name, and one scary as hell non-disclosure agreement ensuring your silence. Not that it matters to you anymore. You were starting fresh, determined. Until Raymond tracked you down, left you that voicemail, brought you to Hong Kong, and back together with Duncan Wu. You realize that Wu's been staring at you. Now let's hear it. Where the hell have you been all this time? Why didn't you contact me? At least to tell me you were alive. I wanted to, Duncan, but I was locked up tight. Corporate black site, no communication. No shit. He squints at you. Full lie detector mode. Oh fuck, I had no idea. A range of emotions play across Wu's face. He stares at the ground for some time, before finally looking back at you with a heavy sigh. Wow, I really don't know how to process that one right now. He He shakes his head. I don't know. If we're still alive tomorrow, we can talk more. This shit is too much. We're marooned on this island, hunted by the cops. My partner is dead. Raymond is missing. And we're about to go see a crime lord about erasing our goddamn identities. And as a bonus, our only allies are a pair of tiny criminals who would kill us if they could, so they don't have to deal with this. He rubs his head viciously. Listen, Arnold, back in the Barrens, whenever I was out of control, you just handled the situation, remember? With Carter gone, I'm just a raw nerve. I'm afraid I'm gonna slip back, and people are gonna start getting hurt again. I got the lead, Duncan, just like I used to. He stares at you hard, like he's trying to see something inside your head. Then he checks his weapons, cocks and locks, back to business. Good. Now let's go meet that triad woman and get our damn sins burned. I want to rip off the bandage as fast as I can. Hioi, a makeshift boat city, latched onto the Kai-Tak riverfront like a parasite. Behind you, a massive snarl of dark and derelict high-rises dominate the horizon, the walled city. But I don't see a Mahjong parlor. A massive steel security door is set into the bunker like concrete wall. There is no sign or identification of what this place is. A battered intercom is encased in a cage of welded steel and armor glass. Grainy letters are barely readable on the screen. Chrome Alley, medical services and mechanical repair. Premises protected by deadly weapons and infectious disease. Press the buzzer. There's a crackle of static, then a brusque voice answers. What do you want? The voice is Cantonese is precise, but the accent sounds American. Is this a medical clinic? No, it's a chicken factory. What do you want? I need a cyberdoc. Yeah, that's me, but listen, guy, I don't know you. I don't like people that I don't know. Who sent you? I'm friends with Isabel and Gobet. Yeah, those two drag some real prices out of the river. You get Nightjar to vouch for you. I'll consider giving you the time of day. Got it? Nightjar is dead. There's a long silence on the intercom. Crying shame if that's true, and I saw that one coming. So you just washed up with Isabel and Gobet, huh? You know what that tells me? You're here today, and you'll be gone tomorrow. I'll keep my distance. Forget it. I'm going. The swift winds Mahjong parlor, filled with the stink of cigarette smoke, the incessant click-clack of Mahjong tiles, and the grim faces of hardened gamblers. Come in, we have a lot to talk about. You can feel every eye in the room as you cross the Mahjong parlor to the middle-aged woman sitting patiently at its end. The click-clack of ivory-colored tiles stops, hands stray beneath tables, into jacket pockets, behind backs. The woman has the face of a prison guard and the demeanor of an inmate. Her salt and pepper hair is pulled into an iron-hard bun, and beneath it, two shiny black eyes offer nothing. Buttons sewn on a doll. A nearly empty bottle of something foul rests on her Mahjong table, nestled between a pair of dirty shot glasses. Tiny puddles of brown linger at their bottoms. Gobet and Isabel stands on the other side of the table, heads lowered, shoulders slumped. Hands clasped, they risk a frightening glance at you as you approach. Kindly Sheng's voice is nasal and rusty mean. My little pair of fuck-ups here told me all about what happened on the docks. She dips a pinky into the shot glass, brings it to her mouth, removes it with a sharp smack. How two of my best runners had their heads put out. How you need protection, and how you need to get your identities wiped before you get your head put out too. Potentially leading the heat to my front door, placing me and everyone in my employ in danger. She fingers the rim of her glass. So wise, so very, very wise. The young shaman eyes never leave the floor. We're sorry, Auntie. We thought... Her black eyes flash. You mustn't speak until you're spoken to, Gobbet dear. The smile turns mean. And since you are one short hair away from being dumped in the river, chained to Isabel's corpse, I suggest you let your new friends here do the talking for a while. Does that make sense to you, dear? Her treacle voice is back, sweet, nasal, and grinding. Dark circles ring Gobbet's arm's pits. Yes, Auntie. Shang inclines her head gently. Very well, you learn so quickly. Remain silent. She pours another drink. Her cheeks are rosy, already flushed. Now, my darlings, I understand from little Ratchet here that you came from Seattle to meet with my client, Mr. Black. Wu's jaw tightens at the word client. But before you could find him, the HKPF started splattering grey matter everywhere, and everything went to shit. And now you need your sins burned so you can disappear before you end up dead too. Is that right? Yes, ma'am. Very good. Why don't you start with you telling me who you are? Call me Dystopia. Oh, you're already chosen a street name. How prescient of you. Shang looks at you approvingly. Dystopia is a good name. It has real character. She flutters her eyelashes at you. Now, what's your name? I mean, you do want me to erase your identities, don't you, dear? I'll need to know who you are first. Arnold, I do what needs doing. She rests her chin on her hand. I know the type. And how did you become someone who does what needs doing? I picked it up young. I've been in the cooler for a few. Wu's brow furrows and he shakes his head. Still can't believe it. Kindly Sheng whips her head towards Wu, a nasty retort already on her lips. But then she stops, sticks out her lower lip as she sizes him up. She turns to her lieutenant standing behind her, nodding her approval. Looks like the gun show's in town. What's your name, gun show? Wu's focus remains straight ahead. Duncan Wu, I'm a cop, Lone Star. I hear there were some fresh corpses found on the docks tonight. Smugglers, I believe. Didn't sound like the Hong Kong police when I heard about it. You're doing, Duncan Wu? Wu's eyes remain fixed on a spot on the wall behind her. He smolders. I identify myself as Lone Star, but they wouldn't stand down. They had weapons. It was self-defense. She puckers her lips at him, her voice sing-song. I don't care, sweetie. They weren't my people. But now I know you're a life-taker, Mr. Gunshow. You and your friend here. She begins arranging mahjong tiles on the table in front of her. But now I'm curious. Why were you meeting Raymond Black on the docks tonight? He's a friend. Said he needed our help. Shang's black eyes flash. Really? You have a lot of 65-year-old friends who you'll fly around the world to help. He raised us. Raymond Black is our foster father. That makes her pause. Shang lifts her bottle of swill and eyes the label, connecting the dots in her own head. Interesting. A look of disgust passes over her face. Sorry, kids, but he was looking like shit when I saw him. Eyes half open, dark circles around him, dragging his feet, the whole bit. She tsk in displeasure. Your foster father was in a bad place. Sounds like he wasn't sleeping. Could be. From what Wandy said, it sounds like he was having nightmares. He would stop in the middle of a sentence and mutter something to himself. One time it was about the walls breathing or something. Another time it was about teeth, thousands of teeth. I remember him drifting off near the end of our meeting. It looked like he was off somewhere else in his head. He said, I left Prosperity in there. Then Nightjar put his hand on Mr. Black's shoulder, asked him why he wanted to go into the walled city so badly. That seemed to bring him back. When your old man opened his eyes, they were full of tears. Then he muttered something else I couldn't make out. She pours herself another shot, tosses it back and rubs her belly. Your daddy got really irritated after a while. How do you leave Prosperity? Do you think Prosperity could be a person? I have no fucking clue. She grabs a long, slim cigar from the pack on the mahjong table, lights it. All right, let's get to it. She exhales smoke and points two fingers at you and Wu. You two need your sins burned, and you need them burned fast. Hong Kong dragnets are bad news. When they roll in force. Armored personnel carriers, heavy armor, heavy weapons, sorcerers, the whole thing. And they aren't coming to arrest you. She folds her arms across her chest. The thin cigar bobs in her mouth as she speaks. The good news is, I can help you. With the wave of my hand, I can have your sins disappear. But you need to understand, my darlings, is that what you're asking for is not a simple request. Burning a sin isn't just deleting a number, it's wiping all references to that number from all of the world's largest databases. It's masking your mugshot in their facial recognition database so that the first camera you walk past doesn't bring them down on you like a ton of bricks. It's covering our fucking tracks so that the act of burning your sin doesn't lead them right to us. It requires contacts in numerous corporations and the UCAS government. Smoke rolls out on the triad boss's nose. It requires someone like me. Therefore, I need to make a choice. She takes another drag on her cigar and gently places her palm flat on the table. Do I kill you and dispose of your bodies before the cops come looking for you, or do I help you burn your sins? We're more valuable alive. Help us and we'll help you. Shang rests her chin on her hand again and smiles at you. Are you, my darling? If you're dead, things appear to be much less complicated. If you're alive, she stares at you for a long moment, chin still on hand, thinking, taps her ash on the floor without taking her eyes off of you. A low, reluctant growl rumbles somewhere deep in her throat. Okay, you live for now. I'll put your sins to the torch. However, I'll need to call in several valuable favors within my network to do it, and those favors do not come cheap. Kindly Shang stubs out her cigar. You will owe me. What do you want us to do? I want you to deliver a message for me to a business associate in the walled city. The Yellow Lotus has a strong presence inside, Arnold. Isabel can tell you all about it, can't you, dear? Isabel grew up in the walled city. Isabel's eyes remain lowered. They collect taxes for the corporations, extort protection money from the shopkeepers, run drugs, guns, people. They hurt people. We do those things, yes, but to be fair, we also operate the walled city's black market. You might not be alive today if it weren't for the lifeline that we provide. Isabel clams up tight. Shem picks up a mahjong tile and turns it with her fingers. There is a red pole, a sort of enforcer, yes, on the inside. His name is Strangler Bao. Bao is a strong man, a good soldier, but he has forgotten his place. I need you to remind him. Want us to make an example of him? Did I say that? I want you to make an example of him. No, I want you to deliver a message. She tosses you a memory stick. Bring this to him in my name, and remember that Bao's men are my men, by right. They should all be serving me. Killing them would be a waste of resources. I have no use for dead soldiers. She turns to Goblet and Isabel. One of you will go with these two Westerners to the walled city, help them locate Bao, and show them the ropes. The other will remain here with me. I have several menial and degrading tasks that need doing around the establishment. No matter who goes or who stays, you'll both pay for bringing an APB to my doorstep. Yes, Auntie. Yes, Auntie. Now I'm gonna find out who ordered the hit on Nightjar and do some dentistry on him with power tools. She closes her eyes and smiles with pleasure. That boy was my favorite. He sang to me sometimes. She opens her eyes again and sneers. That other one I don't care about. Gutshot was an asshole. She turns away and waves you off with the back of her hand. That will be all, my darlings. Return to me when you're done. Deal. Wu turns to leave. Well, we're still alive. That's something. Just off the docks, you see a sea-worn man with a smile that's almost too wide for his head. His teeth shine white against the thick, black bush of his beard. His clothes are a myriad of colors, patterns, and fabrics. A smattering of cultures draped across his body. If there's anything he's clearly advertising, it's the extent of his travels. You say something you like. His voice is coarse, like steel wool on your eardrums. Come and get it, because now's your last chance. Everything is on sale. Won't find prices like these anywhere else, my friend. Show me what you're selling. The original name has been sloppily painted over with black paint. Newer but somewhat weathered characters have been painted on the bold brushstrokes and read Bolt Hole. That's close enough, friend. The club is members and invites only. I suggest you just move along. Gotcha. The thug taps his earpiece, gestures with his head. Auntie Sheng said you'll be coming. You can pass. Uh-huh. When traveling to new mission locations, you will be able to choose which members of your team to bring and modify their loadouts for the run. When members of your team becomes permanently incapacitated on a mission, they'll be automatically extracted for emergency medical care. They will be patched up and ready for action the next time you return to Heioi. Avoid this loss of firepower by always carrying some dock wagon trauma kits. Crew Decker. I'm gonna go put some water on, make some tea. Kowloon Wood City, the most densely populated spot on Earth. Nearly 40,000 people crammed into 7 acres of chaos, poverty, disease and vice. A self-contained city that collects no taxes and provides no city services. Stagnant water sits in temporary wells. Trash lies piled on roofs for controlled burns. Improvised structures lean dangerously over populated areas. It's the ideal breeding ground for all manner of illicit drugs. Illicit trade, drugs, gambling, black market trade, meta-human trafficking, and everything in between. The only law is triad law. And now you need to enter this septic system of a city, find a triad enforcer named Strangler Bao, and deliver a message from Kindly Sheng. I thought the other one was coming. Sure, I'll spend some karma. Actually, foul oily water rains down from above, mixes with the filth and offal and swill of the streets, turns it into flowing slurry of unrecognizable sewage. In the distance, the sound of back alley activity add to the ambience at your arrival. Breaking glass, the crackling hiss of a garbage fire, faint screams of terror punctuated by the occasional gunshot, sex and business, and violence and misery blended into one. Wu winces at the stink, waves a hand in front of his face. Raymond said that prosperity is in the walled city, but I don't see it. Why the hell would he want to set one foot in this place? Who knows? He'd have to be insane to travel to the walled city. As I think we said, it's the worst slum in the Eastern Hemisphere, maybe the worst in the world. She does her best to suppress a shudder. Can't keep the dread from creeping into her voice. Can't believe I grew up here. Sorry to have to drag you back. Isabel looks around her, closes her eyes. You could have brought Gobbet instead. I would have been cool with that. She peers up at the catwalk and sky bridges that connect the rotting tenements, sagging architecture. Frowning, she points to a spot in the distance. There was a market over there when I was a kid. Might not be a bad place to start. I thought you never knew where to find Strangler Bow. I do, but we need to get into the Lotus Den. That's what Bow calls the little island of control that he's carved out for himself here. It's a stupid name, but it's stuck. He'll have guards posted at every entrance, but we might be able to find a way around them through the market. That's what Kindly would prefer. They probably aren't expecting anyone to come in force. We can kick in the door, drop the guards, hand over the message, and get the hell out. Kindly doesn't want them dead. She wants them to remember where their loyalties lie. It's tough to remember much of anything when you've got a bullet in your head. I mean, we could kill them if you really wanted to. Technically, Bao is the only one that has to live. But I'd rather keep Auntie Sheng happy than piss her off. We may need Candy Sheng, but she doesn't own us. We make our own decisions. That's good. That's a good headspace to stay in. Glad you think so. Now let's get this done. A bedraggled old woman looks up from her sewing at the sound of your approach. Clothing, clothing. I have good quality clothing for sale. Ever heard anyone say prosperity is in the walled city? She cocks her head like a dog listening to a noise that it can't understand. Prosperity? She sounds it out to herself. I don't know what that means. What's the news here? Anything interesting? Interesting here. No, nothing. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. She settles her weight with an audible harumph. Strangler Bao is the big man now. He's very important, very impatient. You know Bao? We'd love to meet him. Well, he requests a suit, and it took only 1 day longer than expected. The bastard refused to accept it. She spits. You see your friend Bao. You tell him that he still owes me for my time. I don't sew for nothing. You can't eat air. We'll get right on that. She nods sagely. You see that you do. Now, what else do you want? Walk away, lady. A young woman lies on the ground. She's a bloody mess. Streaks of spatter of crimson crisscross her blouse and mat her hair. Judging by the quality of her clothes and the bag on her shoulder, you'd make her out as a student. She's as out of place here as a librarian would be in a game of urban brawl. She struggles to move, but she is clearly exhausted. The dark circles under her eyes tell you that she hasn't slept in days. When the woman sees you heading her way, her face hardens. You see her hand slip into her jacket pocket, but as she studies your faces, the fear in her eyes gives way to curiosity. You guys don't look like you're from around here. A hacking cough shakes her, but her eyes remain fixed on you. You either. Who are you? I'm a student at HKU. She glances around watchfully, over her shoulder at the building looming above her, into windows nearby. Doing some research. Gotta finish before I can leave. You look like you haven't slept in days. That's because I haven't. I've been living with the family in one of the inner blocks for the past few months, working on my thesis. It was bad, but I could handle it. For the past 5 days, though, I've been living on the street, hiding from the predators. What happened to the family? A pained expression washes over her face. I'm not 100% sure. The mother, she worked in a dive bar as a hostess. The father was a handyman. They never really went anywhere. They didn't have the money to. I woke up one day and the whole family was gone. Just gone. I squatted in their place a while, but then some people started coming around, eyeing the place. I figured I should get out, finish my research as fast as I could, and head back to campus. Then I got sick. Wu grunts. What kind of research would you do in a place like this? My thesis is about Feng Shui and in the sixth world. This was the right place to do it, the only place to do it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. What does Feng Shui have to do with the slum? Everything, I think. Absolutely everything. Rich people hire geomonsters to design the interiors of their homes, to attune them just right to achieve balance and harmony. The poor have nothing like that, leaving a slum to fester long enough, and you get this. She glances at her surroundings, a look of profound disgust on her face. I think that the negative feng shui of places like this affect the people who live here, that it changes them in a fundamental way, makes them less capable of breaking the cycle and getting out. That's what I'm trying to prove. One sec. Before the awakening, people thought of feng shui as a philosophical system. Jesus Christ. Now in the sex world, it's more than that. It's actually a form of magic. The whole thing revolves around ki, the invisible life energy that binds every person and thing together. It's very real here in Hong Kong. Nobody knows the reason why. Maybe it's only real because people believe that it is. The important thing is, it's a measurable, quantifiable phenomenon. There's an entire industry that's grown up around it. This doesn't look like a place where people are harmonized with anything. No, it isn't. Not at all. The feng shui in the walled city is completely screwed. I mean, just look at the place. She gestures at the scholars surrounding you. The key is all wrong here. You can feel it, right? I felt that something was wrong the minute I walked in. Bad key, huh? Key needs to flow. Positive feng shui allows that to happen. If key gets pent up and trapped, it goes sour. That's what's happening here. The woman clears her throat, then lets out a hacking cough. The effort requires a moment for her to recover before she speaks again. You know, I hate to admit it, but I could use some help. I started running on, well, I guess you'd call it an experiment of sorts. Nothing conclusive, just a few quick trials to support my hypothesis before I go into hardcore data gathering mode. There are only a few things left to do. If you could finish them for me, I could get out of here. She holds out a crumpled piece of paper. Please, follow the notes on this sheet. Duncan takes the paper from her, outstretched hand, and examines it, frowning. Just say what you need us to do. I need you to make adjustments to the area's feng shui. My notes will tell you how. The goal is to remove sources of friction and to record the results. My hypothesis is that even small adjustments can have a measurable impact on key flow. If I'm right, it should improve, and life here should get just a little better. You rest, I'll take care of it. This one's mine. Step off. The street vendor gestures toward a jumbled pile of tarnished chains, costume jewelry, and the trinkets on a stained flannel blanket. Look at all these beauties. Very valuable, very pretty. Show me what you're selling. How can you stand this place? He gives you the stink eye. You mean my home? The vendor softens, becomes wistful. In my experience, you can use anything, regardless of how horrible it is. It just becomes normal after a while. Wires are sparking dangerously just above the doorway. Patch the worn-out wire coating. A quick patch job with some nearby waste rubber leaves the wires safe once more. The market stall has been picked clean, its owner replaced by a pool of dried blood. well-muscled and heavily tattooed triad member looks up from his PDA, bored but alert. Behind him, other Yellow Lotus soldiers take notice and turn to leer at you. You're in the wrong neighborhood, tourist boy, you and all your little tourist friends. I'm a local, I work for Kindly Shang, show some respect. The triad soldier sneers at her. That's so. Then you already know that you shouldn't be here. That fossil doesn't run things around here anymore. His hands strays to his jacket and a conspicuous bulge in the fabric. Could be a gun, a knife, or a blackjack. Best get moving, little girl. Best move before we hurt you all real bad. I'm not gonna tell you twice. Relax, we're just here to check in on the local merchants. The merchants belong to Bao now. He waves you off. Get lost. We told you to get lost. You didn't listen. Now I'm thinking that you need to be taught a lesson. Whoops. See the darkness. Wonder when this is done. It's okay. Yes, that's okay. Okay. Okay, there. Now we should be back. Back to where we were. You come upon a heavily muscled triad soldier screaming at a bearded old man holding a bleeding nose. The punk wags a cheap, disposable cred stick in the old man's face. This, the bright plastic case, would look cheerful if it weren't smeared with blood. This isn't enough. You got two options, old man. You can find a way to pay me all the money, or you can drag your bony ass deeper into the wall. Find a spot for yourself there, with the pimps and the predators. They should find a nice use for you, your choice. The old man wails. It's not fair. I can't just pack up and leave. I've been living here 22 years, and Is this how it's going to be? He rolls his burly shoulders. Fine by me. He's out cold. These tires have been set aflame and have been burning for some time. The smell is awful. Bucket of sand. Pour the bucket of sand on the flames. The flames are stifled beneath the dirty sand and the soil from the bucket. The door is secured by a lock with a badly dented keypad. The keys themselves are deeply scored, as though somebody had gone to work on them with a penknife. Decking, bypass the panel. The door unlocks. This terminal belongs to Bow's people. I bet that we can get something useful out of it. The terminal is locked with a password prompt. Jack in. Oh, this is different. Whoops. Plus 20 trays. It's very different. Okay then. Okay, so they run a trace on you, and if you don't kill them fast enough, they're gonna find you. And then it's the normal fight as, yeah. Relay data. Loads done access codes. Yeah, okay, because now they've already found me. Hatch deadbolt. Jacking out will pull you out of the matrix and back where you jacked in. You don't take damage anymore then, I hope. Yeah, okay, cool. Seven, 8, 8, 1. A large man in his 50s stands waiting, his heavily tattooed arms held in a fighter's stance. His bone structure is heavy. Corded muscles stand out on his arms and chest. In his youth, he must have been enormous. He doesn't talk so much as emit a low rumble. I don't know how you got in here, but you got my attention. Good, I have a message from Kindly Shang. A message from Shang, I can't wait to hear it. Hear you mangle it. He chuckles to himself. You speak Cantonese so well, but before I hear it, I have a little message for her too. You tell Kindly Shang that her operations are done in Walled City. Strangler Bao has given himself a promotion. And tell her that if she sends any more errand boys to visit him with another message, Strangler Bao is gonna send them back in a box. You think you could tell her that, errand boy? Should I write it down for you in English? Hold out the data stick. Just load the stick. Listen to the message, and I'll be gone, okay? I don't get to hear you butcher the message. I'm sad. He grabs the small plastic drive from your hand, slots it in his TRID player. Kindly Shang stands erect, speaks directly to the camera. Mr. Bao, as everyone knows, you're a man of swift action. I respect that, and because of that respect, I will get right to the point. I know where your money is coming from. I know that you have friends working for straw sandals like myself. They have been siphoning funds from their organization. I know about the noodle shop that you launder the money through. I have tasted their broth and found it wanting. The old woman becomes flinty hard. You have been stealing from the Yellow Lotus, glorifying yourself with revenue that we have earned, and I have files to prove it. Bao's eyes widen as files begin to flit across the screen. Receipt, bank reports, personal communications between himself and his men. Kindly Shang continues speaking, smooth and casual. Now, in light of our recent conflict, you might be wondering why I'm keeping this information to myself, why I haven't exposed you so you could be dragged from your lotus den by the balls and slowly roasted on a rotisserie spit. In truth, I respect your ambition. You have a lot to learn about candor and loyalty, but I believe that you still have value. I'm still willing to work with you. However, in order for that to happen, we need to come to an understanding about the nature of our partnership. Kindly Shang steps forward, fills the screen. I own you, Bao. You and all of your men. You are my fucking playthings. Dolls to twist and pose as I see fit. I am in this position because I am far better at this than you, and it's time that you learned it. Accept what I'm telling you, and we can get back to business, prosper together. But if you continue your little rebellion, I will mail tiny pieces of you to your children and take their picture as they open the package. She produces one of her thin black cigars, lights it, holds the smoke a long time. You have 24 hours to return to the fold. If you aren't here licking my heels by then, the information will be released and you will become food for fish. Your choice, Bao. 24 hours. The message winks out. Strangler Bao turns away from the screen. Slowly, his skin is ashen. Get out. He pauses, casts his eyes to the floor, and tells Mrs. Cheng to expect me at Swift Winds tomorrow. He stands up straight. Tomorrow morning. I'll let her know. Just go. Just go. The Simpsons machine has been left unlocked for restocking. There's a packaged data chip still in the tray. Steal the chip. Those guards are still out there, Dystopia. The same guards that kindly doesn't want us killing. We should probably go out the way that we came in. Maggots churn within stews of unidentifiable ingredients. A tubby man with a twice-broken nose glances up at you from a pile of gun parts. He offers you a gap-toothed smile. Nice firearms here, good for protection. You got a husband or wife, you got kids, you keep them safe with one of these beauties. Quality is guaranteed. Your satisfaction is everything. You want to buy? Bao know you're selling guns in this area? Got Bao's permission to sell weapons in this stall. Been selling a lot of them, even more than usual, he grins. That's good for me. How do you stand it here? Business is good here, man. Real good. Yeah, it's disgusting, but you go where the market is. The door has been secured by a series of heavy bars with old motors to retract them. A stained and soiled keypad has been set into the door frame. I don't know. Let's try that code we have. This old rusted water wall might be able to close off the flow of water that's pouring out of the broken pipe. Duncan, can you give me a hand with this? Duncan steps into the wall. Sure thing, shouldn't be too hard. The flow of water ceases. Less clean water will run off into the streets now. The Yellow Lotus Enforcer glares at you. You can see the outline of the old man's cred stick in his vest pocket. He flexes as his muscles bulge. The young woman startles at your approach, fumbling for something in her pocket. When she recognizes you, she relaxes. Is it done? It's done. Thank you so much. The young woman sighs with relief. She opens the flap of a satchel, reaches inside, and produces a plastic sheath. I'm not magically active, so I can't see the flow of key in the area. But I've got test strips, little sheets of paper embedded with key-sensitive bacteria. It's a close relative of FAB, but it doesn't see much use outside of Hong Kong. She pulls a strip out of the sheath and holds it to the air. Within seconds, it turns ink black. She lets out a dejected sigh, her eyes shifting from the strip to her watch, to the strip again. She looks utterly defeated. Damn it, I've been making adjustments for weeks now, trying to get the key to circulate better, and nothing seems to work. If anything, this one went bad even faster than the control strip I took when I got here. Any idea why? No, it should work. I've followed the text, done everything right. The key here is rancid, that's obvious. But I swear, it's even worse than it should be. No wonder this place is so disgusting. The student coughs and rests her head in her hands. That's it, I'm getting out of here. In a little while, gotta tell my advisor about this. Thanks for the help. Hope you don't stay long. I sure as hell won't. Wu holds up his hands for everyone to stop, turns to the two of you and hooks his thumbs into his belt. Well, that was the thing. Never thought I'd be shuttling messages between criminals in a Hong Kong syndicate. I can't imagine what Raymond would have wanted in the walled city. This place just feels wrong. No kidding, there's something off about it. This place makes you feel like your life has no value, like there's just no point to anything. He sighs and looks at your companion. Great life you have here, runner. Isabel ignores the barb. She's too pleased. I can't believe it. We actually delivered Aunty's message without anyone dying. I've had enough of trials. Let's get out of this pit. I'm with you, Guncho. I don't need to see this place ever again. Guncho, seriously. Wu's goggles point down at Isabel. That's gonna stick, is it? Return to Hioi. Guncho. It's hard to shake off the walled city. Its gravity clings to you as if wretchedness itself had grown tentacles. The sounds of suffering subside, but their echoes still thrum your insides. Isabel walks quickly, regularly checking over her shoulders as if expecting pursuit from the buildings themselves. She hugs her cyberdeck to her chest as if protecting a small child. Wu pauses a moment and breathes a sigh of relief when you finally reach the streets. But returning to Hioi isn't like coming home. Suspicious looks and closed mouths accent unsmiling faces that billboard a universal message: you don't belong here. Time to report back to Kindly Sheng and inform her that the message has been delivered. Get this business over with. Get your sin burned. Get on to the next step, whatever that is. You leave the city of darkness behind. Head to the Mahjong parlor and a date with the crime lord. Kelly Shane watches you closely as you walk across the Mahjong parlor. As you approach, her lieutenant leans in, brings her mouth close to the triad boss's ears. Sheng smiles and nods, her eyes never leaving you. There's a twinkle in the straw sandal's eyes. I've heard from Bao. He got my message very clearly, and I understand that there were no casualties created during a little delivery run. I'm pleased and surprised. Isabel did a great job of guiding us. A wry grin. Did she? Good to know. My message was delivered, and Strangler Bao is back in the fold, earning for me. As far as I'm concerned, our transaction is complete. While you were gone, I set the wheels in motion to wipe your identities. She pulls out her PDA, stabs a button with a lacquered fingernail. The order has been sent. Congratulations, you are now sinless. Shadow people. Wu exhales heavily. His eyes remain focused, straight ahead, but his shoulders sag. Well, figure a way out of this, Duncan. Wu pulls himself up to his full height. There's only one way out of this, Arnold, and that's through it. Whoever gave the kill order on Carter also forced us to give up our identities and took Raymond. Wu sets his jaw firm. That's all I can think about. Finding who did this. Finding Ray. Kindly Sheng holds up a hand. While I was working to get your sins burned, I also had my network look into Raymond Black's disappearance. She rests her PDA on the mahjong table facing you. The triad boss's tongue slips from her mouth as she looks over the top, hunting for a right button on its upside-down interface. She finds it and looks up at you again. I have news to share with you, my darlings, the kind you won't like. Raymond Black is dead. She taps the button and a record newscast appears on the screen. Raymond's photograph appears on the screen behind a reporter standing on the docks in Victoria Harbour. It's a picture you've seen before, a professional portrait taken for a press release about a youth center he was opening in the Redmond Barrens. Under Raymond's photo are the words, Seattle man killed. Another shooting involving the police department. A Seattle community organizer and industrial engineer was apparently shot and killed while resisting arrest at Victoria Harbour last night. HKPF police report that the USCAS man, Raymond Black, was behaving erratically and would not respond to police orders to surrender. No additional information regarding Black or why he was traveling to Hong Kong are available. Police have stated that due to this shooting's proximity to last night's shootout with the White Star, the investigation must remain confidential and no other details are being revealed at this time. Candy Sheng taps the button again and the video closes. Wu puts his hands to his face. This just keeps getting worse. It definitely isn't getting any better. Raymond's dead. Wu puts his hands over his mouth, trying to process the information. He sways, and for a moment it looks as if he's going to pass out. Isabel reaches out to touch Wu, thinks better of it, and pulls back her hand. Sorry for your loss. I never had a father, so I don't know what it's like to lose one, but sorry. Raymond dies the same night we're ambushed. That's no coincidence. No fucking way. Kindly taps the video closed. She hunts around the keyboard and selects another button. I'm afraid that's not all, my darlings. This is security footage from Victoria Harbour from last night. You'll find it contains a contradiction. The PDA shows silent, grainy video footage of Raymond sitting in a tea shop, flanked by two guards. He's looking down at something in his hands, completely distracted. The footage continues, and the camera displays several black-clad figures entering its field of view from different angles, guns ready. A tall, sharply dressed man in a suit walks briskly towards Raymond, flanked by two more. Raymond stands to face him, and the camera gets a clear view of the suit's face, white plastic. His guards turn to draw weapons, and muzzle flashes erupt from all sides. One of the Raymond's guards goes down, and his submachine gun fires wildly, hitting the camera. Wu put his hands on the table and leans in. Those weren't cops, and Raymond wasn't resisting arrest. What's with that guy's face? Gobbert reaches out to stroke the rat perched on her shoulder. Is that a mask? It doesn't look like a mask. It looks like some sort of semi-rigid plastic implant, real craftsmanship. She pushes out her lower lip in appreciation. Quite the fashion accessory. It's also the kind of fashion accessory that stands out in a crowd. This guy is either a fool or an arrogant son of a bitch. He sets his jaw firm. Either way, I'm gonna find him. Kindly Sheng watches Wu intently. I believe you. Wu stands back and turns to you. What now? We find out who this plastic-faced man is, then we get some answers. With what resources? Sheng's eyes sparkle. I'm afraid there are some facts you're going to have to face. She puts on a grave face. You are alone in this country. No network, no money, no identity. I could protect you from the police, but how would you go about discovering what happened to Raymond without me? How would you survive? This is a topic that requires serious consideration. Kindly wipes her hand across the stack of tiles, spreading the ivory-colored pieces across the table. You've had a very long night, my sweets, very long. And frankly, you all look like shit. Rest now. I promise you safety in my town for the night. We'll talk about the plastic-faced man tomorrow. Kindly gestures to Gobbet and Isabel. Ladies, go find our new friends a place to bed down in that rat's nest squat boat you call home. We'll all talk after you've slept. Figure out our next steps together. Yes, auntie. Yes, auntie. Rat nest squat boat. We call it the bolt hole. It's the abandoned trawler we call home. Isabel tries to smile. It's homey. Meet you there. Let's go, Arnold, and beat the hell. Safe boat. You two can bunk here for a while. She nods with her nose towards a hatch. You've each got a head to take care of your necessities. Try to knock before you enter someone else's, okay? Seriously. I know the drill. Return to you. Stinks of fish. Just like that place we squatted at on Laurie Avenue back when we were kids. The one with that Astlan family and their dog. They were good people. Yeah, until the 162s decided they wanted the place. He wipes his nose with a gloved hand. They were good people. Sorry that had to happen to them. He stretches and his spine pops like a handful of firecrackers. Think I've been up for something like 36 hours straight. He drops his arms, and this has been one shit stain of a day. Time to end it. The orc turns to you, raises an eyebrow. Anything you need before I leave you to it? Is it just you and Isabel living here? Yeah, Goblet's mouth screws up a bit. Now that Nightjar and Gutshot are gone, it's just us. The squeal of metal grinding on metal rips through the boat. It sounds like it's coming from the level below. And the creepy Russian guy renting the engine room downstairs. Nothing to worry about. He mostly keeps to himself. She checks her PDA. He'll stop soon. He's usually quiet by now. Is there a place for my stuff? Yeah, check the locker over there. You can stash your stuff in it. No one will touch your things in there. And it's a lot bigger than it looks. How do you get your hands on this place? How do people like us get our hands on anything? We found it. You found it empty. He sweeps his eyes across the cabin. The doubt is plain on his face. Somebody abandoned a prime piece of real estate like this. She shrugs. Close enough. It was full of BTL junkies when we came across it. They were completely wigged out on some multiplayer cyber game. I'm not sure they ever shipped out of it. They were completely emaciated, stewing in piles of their own shit. Their eyes had sunk into their skulls. Pretty gruesome stuff. They racked up a killer score, though. True, they had the moves. Should have hung an IV while they were playing, though. Turns out nutrition is important. So what happened? Did they die? She shrugs. Nightjar ran them out. Not sure what happened to them after that. Anyways, it's ours now. Auntie Chang says so. All but the engine room, you mean? Right, everything but that. Auntie rented it out from under us. That must have pissed you off? She shrugs. Whatever, we weren't using it. As long as our downstairs neighbor keeps to himself, he can have the lower level, especially if it keeps Auntie Chang happy. I'm gonna grab some sack time, too. Good, you look like you could use it. We'll go see kindly in the morning, figure out our next move. Come back later, Dystopia, I'm busy. The cot in your cabin is neatly made, with crisp-looking sheets and an insulated plastic blanket. A fine layer of dust coats its surface. It's been a long time since anybody slept here. Go to sleep. You climb into the cot and worm your way under the sheets. They've been starched stiff as boards, but you've slept beneath worse. The lice and bedbugs that plagued your old prison cell are mercifully absent here, and the salt air is fresher than the rancid stink of the Redmond Barrens. The moment your head hits the pillow, exhaustion sets in. You can barely keep your eyes open. Sleep washes over you like a warm bath, and everything goes black. The dream is suffocating, the shifting tunnels of glass and steel, the towering silhouette of dark majesty, the shadowy doorway, and the teeth. They snap at your heels as you claw your way back to consciousness. You open your eyes to Duncan looming over you. He shakes your shoulder roughly. Arnold, come on Arnold, wake up. We gotta go talk to Kindly. The others have already left. That was one rough night. He lets go of your shoulders, cocks a thumb at the hatch. We gotta go. I've been trying to wake you for a while now. You were thrashing around in your sleep. Glad you did. I was having one hell of a nightmare. He reaches up and rubs the back of his neck. Yeah, I didn't sleep well either. I had a bad dream last night too. You okay? I'll survive. His fingers hit a knot. He winces. But man, nothing's gone right since we stepped foot in this country. I'll tell you something though. And this is after a full night's sleep. I don't believe Ray's dead. What makes you say that? Think about it. That statement from the cops on the newscast could be fake. Ours was. And that surveillance footage. We never saw Raymond get shot. The camera was hit by stray gunfire. His passion is intense, but contained, focused. Raymond's alive, Arnold. I know it. So what do you want to do now? I don't know. Wait for a lead to turn up, I guess. He smiles. His teeth are white and straight and perfect. I'm just a muscle, remember? You're the brains of this outfit. You're just like when we were kids. God, I feel like I'm 12 years old again, squatting on a stinking trawler. My partner's gone. Raymond's gone. Hell, I'm gone. I don't even have a name anymore. And now I can't even go to sleep and hide from it all without having a nightmare. His jaw tightens and his teeth grind so loud you can hear it. What else is gonna be taken away from me? Nothing. It's time for us to turn the tables, do some taking of our own. Woo's head cocks like he's got the scent of something. I've heard that tone before. What are you thinking about? If it is obvious, look around. We're sinless, living in the shadows, dealing with criminals. Wu is silent for a moment. All you get is a blank expression. You're thinking of becoming a Shadowrunner. He says it without judgment, just a statement of fact. I think we already are Shadowrunners. I think, he stops and crosses his arms, considers. I think this whole thing has been a blur. I haven't been able to really stop and think for a second. He shakes his head slowly, lets out a groan. This is the way it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be a cop. That was done. This is now. He drops his hands to his hips and takes a couple of deep breaths. That's right, that's right. It's like Ray always says. When the winds of change blow, some people build walls, others build windmills. He chuckles finally. Raymond never said that. It was her housekeeper, Mrs. Maloney. She had it tattooed on her back, right? How'd you see it? Don't mess with me, man. Now I got anger management issues. He checks his watch. Gobbet and Isabel left a while ago. We should get going too. See what that triad lady has to say. Kindly's place reeks of stale cigar smoke and fresh urine. The clicking of mahjong tiles is strangely absent. In its place is a low murmur of laughter and an air of eager anticipation. All eyes are focused on the groaning figure kneeling bloody and bound at the feet of Kindly Sheng. She beckons to him with her fingers and he struggles towards her. The loud rustling of the plastic tarp crackling under his knees as he moves. His pants are wet with fear. An acetylene torch lies on the table at Cheng's right hand. Kindly Cheng ignores the scene. She behaves as if all is right in the world. How did you sleep, my little ones? Fine, thanks. What's with the guy on the floor? She indicates the kneeling man with an incline of her nose. Shitbird here is a plain-clothes cop. He snuck into the area last night while you were sleeping, hoping to find you and kill you before his competition got to you first. My men found him outside the trawler you were sleeping on. They saw to it that your rest was undisturbed and that your location remained a mystery. She nods her head back towards the pillar of meat standing behind her. You can thank Mr. Bow for that. Nodded strangely Bow. Bow inclines his head, 1/4 of an inch. She addresses the bloody man on his knees. Now, Shitbird, tell my friends here what you told me. I don't know anything, I swear. We just got the order in last night. He pushes his head towards you and Wu from the floor, struggling to keep his balance. Somebody high up wants these two dead. The whole department is on it. I don't know anything else. Someone from high up. The old woman lifts her foot, taps his chin with the toe on her shoe. How high? The cop looks up at her, looks around at the room filled with triad soldiers. One of them opens his coat and shows the cop something inside. He closes it slowly and winks. The cop drops his head to his chest. All the way up. It's someone on the council. Someone on the executive council wants D2 dead. Sheng spits on him with a sneer. Fuck your ancestors to the 18th generation. Give me the truth. The cop wears the spittle. He never lifts his head. It's the truth, madam, I swear it. Whoever it was labeled them as terrorists. We're to terminate with extreme prejudice. Candy Sheng shuffles closer to the kneeling cop, reaches down and strokes his head with her hand. Then she slowly digs her fingers into the scalp. She pulls back hard until his chin points high. The triad boss leans in close and searches his eyes with her own. That's all he's got. She lets go of his head and smooths his bust-cut hair with her hand. For whatever reason, last night someone on the executive council of the Free Enterprise Zone ordered the Hong Kong police force to kill 2 nobodies from Seattle. I find that fascinating, don't you? Yes, but why the need to label us international terrorists? She strokes the policeman's cheek with the back of her hand. Her rusty voice becomes sweet as she explains the way of the world. Propriety, my darling. When the government has someone gunned down, they prefer to make it appear justified. The people feel safer when their murders feel like part of civilization. My, but you have definitely fallen into the deep end of the pool. Seattle isn't like Hong Kong. There, the megacorps control the government. Here, the corps are the government. The exec council is chosen by the corporate boards of governors. They're basically the legislative and executive branches of the Hong Kong government in one tiny package. 8 people call all the shots, neat and efficient. Candy Sheng steps back from the cop and lights one of her thin black cigars. For the wage slaves and the civilian sheep, the corporations are a pantheon of gods who wield absolute power. She looks around the room, but not for us. The triad woman takes a long pull from her cigar and taps her ash on the kneeling cop's head. Who else knows about my guest's visit to Haoi, shitbird? No one, madam. I hadn't called it in yet. I wanted to kill for myself. No one knows they're here. I swear it. She turns to her enforcer, Mr. Bao. Bao fiddles with the PDA in his meaty hands. He's telling the truth. No outgoing calls on his PDA. Very good. Thank you, Bao. She nods at the cop. Thank you for your honesty. In one smooth motion, Strangler Bao produces a silenced pistol, fires it once into the policeman's head, and replaces it in his jacket. His face never changes expression. I was wondering what we were going to do with him. Shang takes a drag on her cigar, indicates the body. He knew, my darling, he knew. She balances her cigar on her shot glass, picks up some mahjong tiles and begins playing with them absently. It is clear our friend Raymond Black was up to something involving the walled city, something having to do with prosperity. And this executive council member wanted Raymond dead for it. She stacks her tiles one by one, click-clack. Now they want you dead for it too, click. This plastic-faced man may show up on your door one day too. She knocks the pile over and it clatters to the table loudly. I have a proposal for you, my sweets. A smile lights up her dead black eyes. Work for me. With Nightjar and Gutshot dead, I found myself with 2 job openings. Fill them. I have need of deniable assets here. Players unaffiliated with the triads, who can take care of some of the more unsavory business needs about town. You're proving yourself resourceful, and you have no existing connections here. That can be a positive in this line of work. Shadowrunners, huh? What a surprise. Yeah, you called it, Arnold. In exchange, I will keep you safe from pests like this one. She nods at the body of at the floor. The pool of blood on the plastic wrap continues to widen. You'll have a safe harbor here in my town, and a steady source of income. She picks up a handful of tiles again, and while you dip your toes into the waters of corporate espionage, organized crime, and clandestine mercenary actions, I will employ my network to find the plastic-faced man and gather information about Raymond Black. Where he's been, who he's talked to, who stood to gain from his death, what this prosperity could be. You're putting out a lot of effort to help a pair of foreigners. Not foreigners, my sweets. Valued business associate, I need to learn who killed one of my clients and then order the cops to execute my team of Shadowrunners. Her voice drops and she becomes deadly serious. This is a brazen disregard of my power. Face dictates it must be confronted, or I stand to lose everything. We need to find out who killed Raymond and why. And we shall, my sweet. She leans in. Work with me. Allow me to help you make money. Let my network work for you and help you find out what you've gotten yourself into. Without my help, you won't last a day out there. You are completely out of your depth, I'm afraid. You need a partner. Kindly Sheng will be your partner. Wu's hands go to his hips. He drops his head and shakes it, a little amused. It was just like you said, Arnold. Shadowrunners. Glad I had some time to think about it. Process. He grips the back of his neck, squeezes hard, rips his hands away. Ah, fuck it. I'm not a cop anymore. That guy's dead. He nods. The decision's made. I mean, what about you? I think Ray's still alive too. Let's run the shadows and figure out what happened to him. Raymond is alive, I'm sure of it. So I'll run the shadows as long as Auntie Sheng keeps up her end of the bargain and helps us figure out what really happened to him. Then I'm gonna find my father. Then it's done. Hioi is now open to you. She gestures to her lieutenant, who raises a finger to her ear and whispers into her sleep. First order of business. Dystopia here has already chosen a street name. She turns her attention to Wu, but Duncan Wu don't exist anymore. You'll need one too. Wu signs. Yeah, okay, I'll think of something. Goblet rubs her cheek against her rats, a glint in her eyes. I think we've already got you covered. Gun show. She turns to Isabel. Fits, doesn't it? Indeed. I knew that was gonna stick. It has stuck. Goblet and Isabel will handle this the same way we did with all your previous work. She didn't say Nightjar. All the jobs in line up for you will be sent to your computer on the squat boat. She is pointing at you. I got it. Why him? It's a simple process of elimination. She points to the little decker. Isabel isn't the leader type. You got that right. She moves her finger to the work girl. As for Goblet, let's just say Goblet doesn't have a head for business. Not my thing. Then she rests her finger on Wu. And then there's Gun Show. She wiggles it. The jury's out on Mr. Gun Show. Meaning, her response is direct, straightforward. Meaning, there's a lot going on within that head of yours right now, and I'm not sure I can trust you. Gun Show will be fine, trust me. Shane makes eye contact with you and holds it. She keeps it steady for a long time. Will doesn't notice. Don't worry, I'll be cool, Arnold. Arnold Runquist doesn't exist anymore. Call me Dystopia. Wu shakes his head, eyebrows raising. Gonna be weird calling you Dystopia again. Haven't called you that since we were kids. Goblet looks from Isabel to Wu to you. I guess this is our new crew. The rat on his shoulder scurries to the top of her head for a better view. Welcome to the shadows, Dystopia. As you lead your team through the shadows, your companions will continue to develop and learn new combat skills. Pressing the icon in the lower right-hand corner of the screen will open the crew advancement menu. Yeah, same as in the last game. Territoriality. Go will spend some time at the firing range, increasing her ranged combat skill and SMG specialization by 1. Spirits will never break away in the first 2 rounds after summoning them. Yeah, fuck yeah. Augment weapon mini launcher. Isabel's grenade launcher can now fire remote mines. which can be triggered to detonate at will. Isabel gains the Tor Blaster 1.0 program, an upgraded version of Blaster that also sticks enemies in place for 1 round. Yeah, but I'm not gonna use her for that, so why does she only get 1 plus? It's oppressively hot down here, and the air is full of synthetic odors that grab you by the sinuses and refuse to let go. You can smell engine grease and melting plastic, ionized air and lead solder. A quick scan of the room tells you why. The downstairs tenant has converted this space into a machine shop. Metal fabrication tools and Duraplast extruders line the walls, and a pair of heavy industrial manipulators hang from the ceiling. A man in a black trench coat stands with his back to you, staring at a monitor mounted above a sturdy workbench. He addresses you without turning. "Ah, I was wondering when I'd meet the new neighbor. His voice is pleasant, cultured. There's a hint of a Russian accent there, but it's buried under layers of nuance. Please stay where you are. I'll be with you in just a moment, and unless you fancy an unplanned trip to Chrome Alley, don't touch anything. There are all manners of tools in here that could take your hand clean off. Take your time, I won't touch anything." "Ah, you're very kind, thank you." Try to see what's on the screen. The feed on the monitor looks like some sort of design software. You can see what appears to be slim, spidery appendages in orthographic and perspective views. Very good, yes, that's coming along nicely. Very nicely indeed. He turns towards you, smiling, and for the first time you can see his face. He has broadly handsome Slavic features and a chiseled jaw. His eyes are like flecks of ice. "So sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Dystopia. It's no problem, don't worry about it. You're too kind. Now tell me, what can I do for you?" His voice trails off as a flash of motion catches his eyes. With alarming speed, a sinister-looking drone scuttles out from under the work table. Its movements are surprisingly agile and fluid. The machine rears back menacingly, spreading its forelegs in a clear sign of aggression. The man smiles, tilts, and his tone goes apologetic. "Please don't mind the drone. He can be territorial, but so long as you remain civil, he will not bite." He extends a hand. Simultaneously, the drone relaxes into a neutral position, lowering its killing legs. "Reactor, my mechanical counterpart here is called Crochet." Shake his hand. "A pleasure." His hand is rough and abnormally warm to the touch. He shakes your hand with a solid grip. "I'm very pleased to meet you, my friend. In a community such as Hioi, it's important to be on good terms with its neighbor." "Agreed. Speaking of which, I'd like to ask you some questions if you have the time." He glances at the brace on his forearm. A technical display winks to life, then gutters out. "Very well. This morning's casting should still be cooling for a few minutes yet. That's time enough to talk." "When you said this morning's casting, what did you mean?" "Exactly what I said. A casting that I made of a new locomotive assembly for Koshei." He gestures at the display above the work table. A biometric design, as you can see. This one is inspired by the walking legs of a decapod crustacean, the mangrove crab to be specific. "You're designing drone parts in here?" He nods. "And fabricating them, yes. How did you learn to do that?" "More training and experience than I care to mention." He offers you a wry smile. "Drone architecture was once my profession, you see. Now it's more of a calling, one that I'm free to pursue, now that I've freed myself from the shackles of corporate servitude." Crochet is an interesting name for a drone. "Yes, I suppose that it is. Not many riggers would name their most prized possession after a villain from a fairy tale. A nod to my heritage, I suppose. What was the fairy tale about?" "A thoroughly unpleasant person. Koshei the Deathless, he was called. And for good reason. His soul was clearly hidden outside of his body, and he could not be killed so long as it remained intact. Koshei was a villain and a notorious kidnapper of women, but something about him always stuck with me. I suppose that it was the notion of immortality through cleverness that resonated. There was something to be learned from that, I was sure. And so, when it came time to name my beloved creation, his was the first name that came to mind, and he should roam deathless like its namesake. In a manner of speaking, I suppose that is. I have redundant copies of every piece of his architecture, and his core programming is stored on disk in a secret location. Should he ever suffer critical damage, I can easily bring him back. I had a plan once to automate the self-repair process. I must confess, it was really quite ingenious, but alas, my research was lost. One day I will reclaim it, and Koshei will become as deathless as the stories claim, but it will not be today. You got some interesting machinery in here, not the kind that you typically see outside of corporate settings. He smiles. The same could be said of many in Hioi, I'm sure. This is a smuggler's den, is it not? Our entire economy is based on people having things that they shouldn't. Is there a particular device that interests you? The robotic arms that you've got over there, they look like something taken from an automotive assembly plant. His smile flashes brilliant in the light. Good guess, that's precisely what they are. They fell off a boat, you might say. They weren't cheap, but I acquired them and had them mounted to the walls of my shop. I simply had to have them. The return on, on investment has been dramatic. Yes, they're cruder by far than the Waldo devices that I used in my professional life, but they still do the job and they are mine. He gazes lovingly at the industrial arms, still smiling. They have increased my fabrication capabilities nearly tenfold, and that to me is worth any price. Are you Russian? I thought I caught a hint of an accent there. He nods. You have a good ear. I'm impressed. Yes. I grew up in Nizhny Novgorod. Went to school there. Started my career there in the industrial sector. A fairly common story, I'm sure. But I also have traveled a great deal, and in so doing, I have absorbed a number of other languages and dialects. How many languages do you speak? Counting Russian and Cantonese. 15. He shrugs apologetically. It shames me to admit that I'm only literate in 12, however. That's still impressive, perhaps when compared to a common man, but I've known a great many polyglots who can and do put me to shame. He gives you another half shrug, and Koshei mirrors the gesture. Arabic has been particular bugbear of mine. The unfamiliar characters and lack of vowels make it damn tricky to get a handle on, but I suppose that all men have their limits. His eyes, that is something of a sore subject. My departure was involuntary, you see. I did not part ways with my employer under the best of terms. I will tell you that I worked for Grishin Aviakor, but you'll forgive me if I don't want to go into detail. Keeping all of this machinery running can't be cheap. How can you afford it? Freelance. At the risk of sounding immodest, I've commodified myself rather well. There are always corporations in need of design consultations. You'll be surprised by how lucrative such work can be. And there is always other work that I can turn to in a pinch. You said that you did other work besides consulting. Care to tell me what kind? He pauses, and for a second something flashes in his eyes. Koshei lowers his body into a crouch. A rather personal question, wouldn't you say? Sorry, I didn't mean to pry. No, it's all right. After all, it was my throwaway comment that led you down this path. I cannot fault you for following it. Truth be told, I don't feel especially comfortable discussing my side work with relative strangers. Suffice it to say that my freelance activities often fall on the illicit end of the spectrum. Tell you what, I'm just going to guess. You're a Shadowrunner, aren't you? He gives you a shallow nod. I dislike the term, but yes, I run the shadows. What gave me away? The sign consultants live in an apartment in Victoria Harbour. You're living in a rusted-out boat in Hioi. There's got to be a reason for that. He shrugs. You are correct, of course. The residents of shadow communities are usually either too poor to live elsewhere or engage in behaviors too illicit to risk it. I will admit to being in the latter camp. Designing robotics is my passion, but it doesn't always pay the bills. He runs a hand over Koshei's armored chassis, caressing the sculpted metal with his fingertips. My status as a foreigner has proven something of an impediment in this regard. And so sorry as I may be to say it, the lion's share of my income flows from Koshei's aptitude for butchery. Such is life, I suppose. We do what we must to do what we love.
Seems like everybody on this boat runs the shadows. Why not pool our resources and work together? He purses his lips, considering. A compelling offer. I'm doing quite well on my own, but I must admit that there are certain jobs for which I am unsuited. Magic eludes me, and I'm not a decker. My strength comes from material objects in the real world, solid things with mass and heft, things that I can build and operate. Sadly, a great many clients are only interested in teams that display a mastery over the intangible. This group of yours, do you have people who can cover those bases? If so, then perhaps we can help each other. Yes, we have a shaman and a decker, both competent at their job. In that case, I will accept your offer on a provisional basis. We'll do a few runs together and see how we get on. If our association bears fruit, it will continue. If not, I will bid you farewell and go back to working alone. How does that sound? Welcome aboard. Very good, excellent. When you receive a job, you know where to find me. My skills and resources are at your disposal. And with that, I'm afraid that I must bid you a good day. I still have work to do down here. This leg assembly won't clean itself. I'll be in touch. Looking forward to working with you. And I with you. Sweet. Your workstation emission computer. The cool blue tones of the workstation's main menu fills the screen. A blinking message in the upper right corner notifies you that you have 600 messages. Check your inbox for new messages. You have 600 messages. Welcome to Hioi. From Candy Sheng to Dystopia. Subject, welcome to Hioi. Dystopia, on behalf of your friends at the Hioi Chamber of Commerce and the Swift Winds Mahjong Parlor, I welcome you to the community of Hioi and to our new business venture. I have already lined up 3 jobs for you. The details of each are contained in a separate computer message. Remember to check your messages often, as it will update you with new opportunities as they occur. Your mission computer. From Isabel to Dystopia. Subject, your mission computer. Hey Dystopia, I've set up your mission computer to automatically collect and collate news reports, information and media that might be of interest to you. Some of the keywords I've got it trolling for are things like Raymond, Duncan, Walled City, etc. I've also patched in a permanent link up to the Hong Kong shard of the Shadowlands BBS. It's a great place to connect with other runners, sell paid data, get news from the streets, and so on. Don't be shy about taking a look. Resources. From Bao Jinjun, Dystopia Resources. I have been instructed to inform you of the various suppliers present in Hioi. Auntie Sheng has cultivated a commercial district of well-stocked and trustworthy vendors. Whoever you chose to do business with, you will be in good hands. Ermine Cafe at Club 88 is an excellent resource for acquiring additional weapons should you require any. If you are in need of magical supplies, go to the Parlor of 5 Faces. If you decide training in the path of the Adept, seek out Spider Shan. He can help you, as well as supply you with any close quarters weapons that you might desire. Chrome Alley can supply you with cybernetic enhancements and medical supplies. The proprietor, 10-Armed Ambrose, is a cyber surgeon of some repute. Lost Techno Palace is a one-run supplier of the local decking community. The place is hard to miss. Just look for the sign glowing in the sky. If you need drones, Reliable Matthews Robot Bazaar is your best bet, and I pity you. Best of luck in the shadows. As fresh meat, you are likely to need it. Strangler Bow. Serial Killer. From Candy Sheng to Dystopia. Subject, Serial Killer. I've got a problem, Dystopia, and you're going to help me solve it. I do a lot of business with the Wampoans. If you're not familiar with the term, I'll forgive you. You are an outsider, after all. The Wampoans are a tribe of techno-fetishists and deckers who've taken up residence in the Wampoan Garden area of Hong Kong. They make and trade high-tech goods to people from all over the world. A lot of yen passes through their pasty little fingers, and I make a lot of money brokering deals between them and the smugglers here in Hawaii. I've hit a snag, though. The Wampoan elders, their council of leaders, are being eliminated by a serial killer. They've asked me to dispatch someone to get to the bottom of it and stop the killings, and they're not taking their goods through my turf until I do. So you're going to be my proxy, dear. I don't care how you do it, but I need those murderers stopped. The Wampoans have delegated here in Hawaii by the name of maximum law. Have a delegate here. Speak with him if you wish to know about Wampoa. He's got a big mouth, but he knows very little of importance. Don't expect much from that half-empty bottle of vinegar. You get your ass down to Wampoa Garden and talk to the elders. Lie, cheat, and steal if you have to, as long as they're convinced that there won't be any more murders. I want my cut back, and I want it soon. Take the run. Good, I'll tell the elders you're coming. They don't like outsiders, and they might shoot at you if I don't warn them that you'll be arriving. Check your inbox. Artificial liberation. Kindly Shang. From Kindly Shang to Dystopia. Subject forward. Artifact liberation. Welcome to the Shadows, Dystopia. I've received a request from an archaeologist named Mr. Drake. He's interested in liberating certain artifacts from beneath the manor house located in Tau Po. I've attached a copy of the video message that he sent me. The screen flickers a few times, and the email is replaced with the face of a stern-looking orc. Hello, Madam Shang. I've heard that you're a woman who knows how to get things done, especially with regards to things that aren't legal in the strictest sense. That's exactly the kind of help I'm looking for. Recently, a rich investor by the name of Liu Hua decided to expand his manor house on the outskirts of Taipo. Too much money, not enough space for fancy parties. He hit a snag with local government officials. However, they suspected the land his estate was built on may have pre-modern archaeological artifacts buried beneath it, all of them dating from the Song dynasty. Consequently, I was contracted as an archaeologist to oversee the excavations and ensure everything was properly recorded and catalogued. Sure enough, we were only a few days into the excavation when we discovered a series of tombs lying beneath the site. The scope of the tomb was far beyond anything Liu or I had expected. Several acres of catacombs, at least, and untouched relics throughout. What's more, they're certainly older than the Song dynasty. They may even be from the previous cycle of magic. Before I could make my report to the Free Enterprises Zone authorities, however, Liu called in his allies in Tan Tien Incorporated. Liu sold the entire site to Tan Tien, who then leased it back to him, because Tan Tien is considered to have extraterritoriality in Hong Kong. Local authorities were powerless to stop Liu from looting the tombs. He immediately began building a museum, if you can call it that, atop the site. He had a goal to call this museum the Emperor's Tomb. Can you believe that? The odds of there being an actual emperor buried there is basically nil, but he doesn't care, anything to sell a few tickets. Lewis continued his excavation using Tan Tien contractors to expand the dig. What he didn't know is that I bugged his comlink before he fired me. Based on what I've heard, something strange is going on in the lower levels. Workers have been disappearing, only to be found dead several days later. Whatever is down there is too dangerous to be left in Lou's hands. Lou must have found my data line tapped, though. I stopped receiving any information 3 days ago. The last thing I heard him talking about were a pair of ancient texts that workers had discovered. Then he issued an order that further excavation should be halted until he can secure the subterranean areas. I'm betting those texts are the cause of whatever's killing the workers. I have quite a bit of experience with these kinds of dangerous excavations, but an operation of this scale is beyond me. I need a team that's tough enough to get in and survive, aren't afraid of making a mess, and who can get out with the books and whatever else they can carry. Beyond the two texts, I'm willing to pay very well for whatever other artifacts your team can liberate. The more valuable, the better. Don't worry, they'll be going to actual museums, not some rich playboy's mansion. I've got a second program in place that'll suppress Liu's security systems. The team will have to be careful, though. There are only so many alarms I can suppress. Go beyond that number, and I'll scrub the mission. I've included a catalogue of likely items to help the team appraise the most valuable ones. They don't need to be subtle. In fact, I'd prefer they make it look like common robbery. Tell them to smash and grab what they can. Let me know when you find a suitable group of Shadowrunners. There you have it, a nice simple robbery. Do you think you can handle something that basic, dear? I have faith in you. Let me know when you're ready to proceed. I'll contact Mr. Drake when you're on your way. Excellent. I've attached directions to Liu's estate to this message. Good luck. Don't fuck it up. From Kindly Shang to Dystopia. Subject: Geomantic sabotage. Geomancy is big business in the Free Enterprise Zone. Here in Hong Kong, Feng Shui isn't just the act of rearranging your kitchen to make things look pretty. The fortunes of empires rise and fall with the ebb and flow of qi, and sometimes that flow needs a helping hand. Vuxing Incorporated are the preeminent practitioners of large-scale key manipulation here in the Free Enterprises Zone. They've gone to great lengths to channel key from all over Hong Kong into their headquarters. an enormous monstrosity that they call the Waxing Sky Tower. There it is focused and transformed into good fortune through the building's geometrically attuned architecture and interior decorations. Our client believes that it is time for Waxing's good luck to run out. You are to infiltrate the Sky Tower and disrupt the flow of ki throughout the building, but you are to do so in two distinct fashions. First, you must disrupt the feng shui of the offices by subtly altering the environments of that level. This will consist of minor adjustments of desks, spilled water, and other small activities that are unlikely to be noticed. Ordinarily, even subtle disturbances of this nature would be noticed. This is why the client wishes you to make a much louder demonstration on the rooftop garden. The garden needs to be ransacked, utterly destroyed, set fire to things, uproot trees, that kind of thing. Our client has also specified that he would like you to destroy the large Buddhist statue in the garden, smash the thing to bits, and leave them scattered across the rooftop. This level of destruction will keep Waxing's geomancers busy long enough that their more subtle disruptions below will take effect. In addition, it will send a kind of message our client would like Waxing to hear. I have utmost faith in your ability to cause destruction. The more disruption you can cause on both levels of the Sky Tower, the happier the client will be. As you're not a spellcaster yourself, it may be wise to bring Goblet along. She will be able to see the most effective ways to disrupt the key of the building. Take the run. Good. Contact me when you're finished the job, and I'll send you your cut of the payment. Access to Shadowrun's BBS. Post pay data for sale. Post the exotic animal dealer's contract. Despite the wind and rain pelting Heoi, the proprietor of this stall, a monk, judging by their outfit, is unconcerned. The monk's expression is indifferent, though hardly placid or serene. Muscles show as tightly wound metal bands beneath the skin, ready to snap in any direction without warning. What's more, the monk's robes are anything but ordinary. Certainly, silk makes up the base outfit, but it's paired with high-impact ballistic armor, heavy-duty boots, and a bandolier of throwing knives. The table in front of you are arrayed with a wide variety of melee weapons, charms, jade pendants, and other mystical accoutrements. Beneath an awning in the rear are rows upon rows of cages, each housing some variety of exotic reptile or insect. These in turn are flanked by jars and boxes of Chinese herbs, incense, powders, and inks. The monk spares you only the shortest of glances as you approach. I'm Monk Shen, and most people in Heoi call me Spider Shen, on account of the spiders back there. You're not local, not by a long shot. It's definitely a statement. Yeah, what about it? Shen shrugs and swings an open palm across the table in front of you. So you probably have more reason to buy something than my neighbors, and I'm here to sell, so that's good. Swords, knives, clubs, I sell it all. I make most of these, but if I can't, I've got friends who can. If you need incense or salves for medication, I make and sell those too. And if your joints ache, I can give you acupuncture. Shen places both palms on the table, leaning over it towards you with a wicked grin. So what can I show you? You're a monk and a weapons dealer. Shen slowly raised an eyebrow, arms folded. Yeah, where else would the ancient masters have gotten their legendary swords and spears? Down at the moon? I was at Wudang Mountain for 15 years before coming back to Hong Kong. I've been practicing Xing Ji Zhang my entire life. That's how I learned the herbs, as well as the forms. It just so happens I'm good in a forge too. That's why what you buy here is better than most other people's. So why become a weapons dealer out here? I was a runaway, a street orphan in Aberdeen. One day, an old man who called himself Woe offered to take me in. Let me make something of myself, as long as I worked hard. Nothing in this life is free, friend. Not even Grandfather Woe's help. So I worked for him. Now. Sounds like he was part of the triad. Shen's eyes roll at this. Obviously. You think I'm in kindly's little haven for no reason. She and Grandfather Woe are on good terms. I don't get in her way. I pay a cut to her, and everybody's happy, even Woe, because I solved problems for her. Shen raises a ballad fist, which suddenly bursts into blue flame. After a moment, it gutters and goes out. Remember that, if anyone ever gives you something for free in Haoi, you pay it back with money or blood, but you pay it back regardless. What Sing You Guan? Shen strikes a sudden pose, body low, one fist against the hip, while the other is extended in an open palm. The 5-element fist style. Water grows wood, which burns to become fire. Fire creates ash and earth, which condenses into metal, etc. The forms cycle the 5 elements, and opposing elements block each other. A water fist will break a wooden defense, but a water block will extinguish fire. Should one use a water interception on a metal fist, however, water will be smashed apart. Direct, simple, powerful. Not so elegant as Bayaquan or Tai Chi, but much more powerful. Shens pulls a tarp away from a nearby lamp. The object beneath the tarp is revealed as the door to an Ares City Master armored personnel carrier. It's been caved inward by a massive amount of force, and in the dead center of the door is an indention into which Shen's fist would fit perfectly. Power comes from focus, and focus comes from practice and meditation. Sing Yi Quan produces more power than most other forms of Kung Fu, and applies it in a highly focused way. Why are your weapons special? Because I take greater care with them, and I've studied the ancient text. Anyone can make an excellent carbide steel blade, but I can make that carbide blade burst into flame. I can make it sing with joy in combat. Anyone can make steel, not anyone can awake its soul. Can I see one of the blades you've awoken? Shen waves a hand at you dismissively. No, of course not. Swords like that have to be custom ordered. Only when someone cancels an order do I have one just laying around. And believe me, they get snatched up quick. I get the picture. Let's talk about something else. We sell snakes and spiders too. Shen shakes a finger at you, eyes narrowed. No, they're mine. I can sell you the things I craft with my hands, or the things I can do, but the medicines and poisons I make are my secret. You want those, you apprentice to me. In 5 years, maybe I show you how to make a poultice, eh? Okay, Sheesh, no need to get upset. You want to learn, you need patience. You try to learn without patience. All you do, ape the masters. The Shen snaps 2 fingers and points at the cage. You have to understand them to truly learn my art. Otherwise, you never become a master. Might as well get a skill soft. Let me take a look at your wares. Okay, that's it for now, but thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.